What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Scouting Combine here on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Today, we're going to be analyzing the 2020 and 2021 Miami Dolphins draft class with none other than the owner of Football Gameplan himself, Emory Hunt. Emory, how you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing fine, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course, man, I appreciate you coming on as well. Emory, this is a new show on the Five Reasons Sports Network, and we are primarily we talk a lot about the NFL draft and the Miami Dolphins. So not a lot of people may know of you. Why don't you go ahead, tell us, what you do on a regular basis?
A little bit of everything. Color commentator. You'll find me on CBS Sports HQ, owner of Football Game Plan. So you'll see me doing a lot of different things across the spectrum of football.
Of course, and not only that, Emory is a fantastic draft analyst as one. This is the reason why I brought him on to take what he knows about the 2020 and 2021 Dolphins draft class and how they've done and how they've fared over their young NFL careers. So why don't we go ahead, get started with the main guy, Tua Tagovailoa. He may have the hottest seat in the AFC quarterback room by a lot of people. Do you believe it's a make or break year for him?
I don't believe so. I feel like folks need to pump the brakes on Tua. Tua does a great job of, displaying the short area accuracy that you want to see. And we know that this is his first full season. He's going to be 2 years removed now from the hip injury. We've seen him have success. He's had his team in contention for the playoffs. They just couldn't close the deal. So it's not like he's played terrible. It's just that the numbers aren't what people want them to see. And I feel like between fantasy football and all the other things that have nothing to do with real football, people kind of use that to color their or shade their opinions of a player. But really, Tua has been doing solid, and this year should be his breakout season. Because if we're being honest, we're looking at that 2020 draft class, 2021, I believe it was when he came out. 2020, Burrow goes to the playoffs, goes to the Super Bowl. Hurts gets his team to the playoffs. Herbert and Tua are the only two that haven't gotten their team to the playoffs. But I feel like both Herbert and Tua have played really good football, respectively. It's just up to people just want to see these gaudy numbers, but it doesn't matter if you throw 20 touchdowns or 50 touchdowns. If the team doesn't, ultimately get to the playoffs, what does it matter? So I feel like this is a make or break year for him. I feel like this is a year where he can finally be comfortable, not have to deal with a guy behind him coming in, perhaps not looking over his shoulder, not dealing with the injury. So I'm all in on Tua having a really strong 2022 season.
And Dolphins fans love to hear it. And I'm glad you brought up, a little bit of a comparison between Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, and Joe Burrow as well. Football is an 11-man game. It's one of the biggest team sports out there. And most of the time, it's not make or break for the quarterback on how the team does. There's 10 other positions on the offense and 11 other positions on the defense and 11 more people along special teams. If you watch the 2020 and 2021 season, the offense wasn't the best for Tua Tagovailoa. It didn't necessarily maximize his skill set with the new coach, with new players, and potentially an offense that fits his skill set. What does he need to show this year to you?
I think this is the year where he's finally going to have a run game. And if we're being completely honest, that's what's been missing the last two seasons. They really weren't a threat to run the football. Now you add a Chase Edmonds to the mix. You add draft picks to the mix. They are better now in the backfield than they were the last two seasons. And having a run game, and now you have a head coach that is hell bent on running the football in a creative, unique way or whatnot, or an explosive way, and you add explosive talent. The run game is going to help to continue to push the offense down the field and ultimately get into the end zone. There's talent on the roster, but I think the big difference that folks need to really focus on is having Chase Edmonds in the mix, running the football a lot better. Now you have to worry about the run game. You can't just key on the Dolphins passing attack. They really didn't have someone that was a true threat back there in the backfield. Now they do, which will just help balance out the offense.
I'd love to hear that. Now, as we move on to probably one of the biggest rookie risers last year in the the second wide receiver taken in the 2021 NFL draft class, Jalen Waddle. I mean, his rookie reception record highlights the success of the Miami Dolphins 2021 draft class. Regardless with an anemic offense last season, the offense primarily ran through Jalen Waddle. With the addition of Tyreek Hill this year, does this lessen his load and his impact to the offense?
No, I think it increases his impact on the offense because now teams have to worry about two explosive talents. And we should see an even more explosive Jalen Waddle this year, I believe. I felt like last year he was still dealing with that ankle injury. So this year we should see him really get back to what he was pre-injury. And then you add Tyreek Hill to the mix. It's going to be tough to defend the Dolphins. You're really going to have a lot of speed in the secondary. So having both those guys out there should only make both of those guys even better. And I like the approach. They are catch and run guys. Tua does a great job getting the football out quick, accurately, to where guys don't have to break stride. I feel like that area alone, combined with what these guys do with the football in their hands, should yield a lot of big plays. Yeah, he may not throw it deeper down the field, but if the guy is taking the short pass a long way, it doesn't really matter.
I had Trevor Sikkema on last year, and we did a little bit of a 2021 Dolphins redraft, and he chose Penei Sewell over Jalen Waddle. What are your thoughts on that if the Dolphins were to redraft that 21 draft class?
I'm all about touchdowns and playmakers. Give me all the touchdown scores, the interceptors, the ball carriers, the sack artists, the guys that turn the ball over. Give me all those guys first, and then I'll worry about the offensive line. And not saying that the offensive line isn't important, but this is a points league. And I need, can you score? Can you take the ball away? So I'm taking all the playmakers and all of the guys that can take the ball away first before I worry about the offensive line. And I feel like the offensive line wasn't as bad as indicated. If you have, I feel like if you had talent in the backfield, it'd make the offensive line look a lot better, which then would make play action pass look a lot better. I just feel like, folks tend to put so much focus on drafting all the offensive line, and justifiably so. If you are not good up front, it's hard to have any success, but you can't make it all about the five guys. You need guys that can put the ball in the paint. So that's where I still would have taken Waddle or probably found a way to get Najee Harris as well, too, because they had 2 first-round picks, I believe, that year. That would have been me in my approach as opposed to drafting Penei Sewell, because then you'll be saying they need weapons to throw to. Well, so it's 6 one way, a half dozen another.
Right, exactly. Now the Dolphins have playmakers. You have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson, Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Lynn Bowden Jr., and Mike Gesicki as the tight end as well. I mean, it's a pretty good pass catching and running back group as well. As we move on a little bit to the defensive side of the ball, the third first round pick in the 2020 draft class was Noah Igbinoghene out of Auburn. Now, he was very, very raw. He only played one season of cornerback, and he kind of did well. And Devonta Smith said it that the toughest defensive back he played in college was Noah Igbinoghene. However, his impact truly wasn't felt on the NFL level. He didn't see the field as much. Do you think with new defensive back coaches, Sam Madison and Pat Surtain, can Igbinoghene be a late bloomer in the NFL?
It's possible because we've seen, it used to be receivers take 3 years of, to really get their NFL legs underneath them. I feel like now it's going to be the same thing with cornerbacks because we see the same thing happening in Detroit with Jeff Okudah. A guy that was really good coming out of college and just, it hasn't really clicked yet. For Igbinoghene is probably the same thing. I mean, the tape was talented for both guys. So you hope now that he's turned the corner, and it'll work out for him because, again, he has all the athleticism you want. His Auburn tape was really good, and you just hope that, at some point in time, things will slow down for him. He'll get the opportunity. He'll stay healthy, and if those things kind of sync up, then he'll do a great job. and performing out there on the field like he did at Auburn.
Yeah, and if you watch a little bit of his film with the Dolphins, he was in the correct position all the right times. He was a former wide receiver. He knows most of the routes. He knows all coverages, can play man as well, and he's got that long track speed. He's a former track star. He just didn't use his hands well, or didn't put his hands in the position to make a play on the ball. If you were in front of Noah Igbinoghene right now, what would you tell him, or maybe some tips and tricks to utilize his hands better?
Well, he's the pro, so I was just straight tell him just stay confident, stay active, and keep working on your game. There's nothing I can tell him to help him out, other than just stay confident, stay motivated, and continue to find ways to really nuance your game. That's the real difference between college and pro. You really have to work on your game outside of the building. And if you're able to do that, you're going to have a long, successful career. So it's not like college where you really can work on the finer points of the position with your position coaches. NFL is primarily scheme. So in order to get better outside of the facility, you have to work on your game in that aspect. And then when you get back to the building, you could focus on the scheme because you worked on the nuances outside of the building. So I think that's the only bit of advice I would probably give him, as just to continue to work on your game. It is your profession, it's your vocation. So you know treat it as such.
I'm sure Noah, if he was watching and listening, he appreciates your wisdom and advice, Emory. So thank you so much for that. Look, the Dolphins trusted, their second round selection, Liam Eichenberg, in the 2021 NFL draft to play multiple positions along the offensive line last year as a rookie. He played left tackle, left guard, right tackle. However, he never really settled into a role. Now, he's a very versatile guy, 100%, but he couldn't find a position to stick last year. Where does he project in this new wide zone scheme in 2022?
I would say probably guard. And for me, as long as you have the talent, you could figure out the space or the spot. And it feels like the Dolphins are going to put him at left guard. And if you could just let him stay at one position, no matter what position it is, he'll thrive there. So because you just so eloquently laid it out that they had him playing all across the board, you don't really get a good feel for the position and the guy you're working next to because you're constantly changing. So if he's settled in that guard, I think he can thrive there, and he's going to have to thrive because he's an integral part to O line play. That guard center guard is critical for any offense, but more particular for the run game to have success.
He's also a very, very smart guy graduating from Notre Dame. And, coming out of that draft process, he was one of the higher ranked offensive linemen in terms of football IQ itself. He played guard at Notre Dame, he played tackle as well. So, yes, he has the mental makeup. It's just more so that physicality, settling into that role, and just being consistent on a week by week basis for Liam Eichenberg. Now, as we move again to the defensive backfield, Jevon Holland has the makings of a fantastic NFL safety very, very soon. If you watch his rookie tape last year, I mean, he was great. I mean, he was awesome as his rookie. When you watched him at Oregon and now at Miami, are there any holes in his game that he still needs to work on?
Well, there's things that you still have to really grasp when you're a pro player. Is mostly is just understanding what you're seeing, because offensive coordinators, opposing offensive coordinators, their job is to break down your game. So you have to really study offenses and study tendencies and study history of the OC. So it's just about understanding the game more, and that'll allow you to play faster, even faster than you already play. So when you're a pro, you really have to. It becomes a full time job in terms of your preparation and what you know. You got to know them like they know you. So again, that will be the only thing for guys going into second and third years. Just kind of, really study your opponent, study where they've been, study where they've had success, what they like to do. You need to have a book on these coaches like they have a book on you.
Right. 100%. 100%. And before we continue this conversation, guys, if you guys have not already, register on prizepicks.com and use the promo code 5. Again, that is 5, FIVE. Emory, I noticed before you came on to the show, you're wearing a Raging Cajuns shirt right there, my man. Big Louisiana fan. You grew up in Louisiana as well. How are you liking the Raging Cajuns this year?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see because new coaching staff coming in. Michael Desimo is a former Cajun himself, taking over. But unfortunately, a lot of the guys, key guys, maybe 4 NFL players transferred out. 2 have ended up at LSU. 2 have ended up at Florida. 1 has ended up, um, at TCU. So it's the cupboard is bare. We had a lot of graduations. Guys that are currently in the NFL now was draft picks of the 2022 class. So I'm excited for Desimo. I hope he can continue to build on what Billy Napier was able to do. And it's great to see the program at this level where we're talking top 25. We're talking, NFL draft picks, multiple NFL draft picks. It's something I couldn't imagine back when I was there in 99 to 03. So it's great to see where the program, and that's just built on, you know, Jerry Baldwin, Ricky Bussell, Mark Husband, recently with Billy Napier, and now Desimo, who is like I said, a Cajun guy through and through. And hopefully he can continue to build on that. But I'm excited for him.
Very, very excited for you to talk about the Raging Cajuns, and very, very excited to talk about this former Raging Cajun himself. Robert Hunt was drafted in the 2020 NFL draft within the second round. Now, he's been a good right guard and potentially the only consistent performer on the offensive line the last 2 years. And as you know, under Billy Napier at Louisiana, he played some right guard and right tackle in that outside zone system as well. There have been mumblings about Hunt becoming a right tackle this year under Mike McDaniel's offensive scheme. Could you see him succeeding as a right tackle in the NFL?
Sure. I mean, he has the talent, has the athleticism. I spoke with him at the combine when he was coming out out of Louisiana. He said, I could play anywhere they need me to play. And that's the good part about playing at Louisiana. He played under then O-line coach Rob Sale, who's now with the Florida Gators. You're going to cross train across the board and play a bunch of spots up front. So I have full confidence that he could do so. Robert Jones out of Middle Tennessee State
Yeah.
is someone that they have on the roster that is going to find his way within that starting lineup. So yeah, you have the luxury of moving someone like a Robert Hunt around because Jones has to get on the field, in my opinion. So yeah, if he plays right guard or right tackle, I think Hunt still will thrive
Yeah.
up there for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I really like Robert Jones in that 2021 draft class, and I actually had him going in the seventh round to Miami, but they picked him up as a UDFA. Now he did start week 17 last year, and he was he was one of the biggest contributor to Duke Johnson's resurgence the last 3 games of the season, especially the finale against New England. So I do think Robert Jones can crack the lineup in this Mike McDaniel wide zone scheme. Love to hear that, Robert Jones. Love Emory 100%, man.
Yeah,
As
he's
we go ahead,
no, I was saying he's excellent.
he's excellent. Another excellent player from Alabama himself, Raekwon Davis. Now, he doesn't necessarily pile up the stat sheet, but he's effective in eating up blocks, that one man, that 2-man gap scheme, and just letting the linebackers play. How helpful is he to scrape linebackers and especially in the run game?
Well, that's his role, and when you're able to thrive in that role, he has length, he has the size, he has the know-how of how to play that position. I thought he was one of the better rookies that they had, and expecting him, to take significant strides here with the Dolphins under a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, defense coordinator will stay the same with Josh Boyer, as some may have said he was calling plays, but you could really see his effect when he was out at the beginning of the season, where the Dolphins' run game just took a big tank dive because of Raekwon Davis and his run stuffing ability. You can line him, in the A gap, the B gap, and you can even line him out wide, as we saw last season. And he's really taught Jalen Phillips and Emmanuel Ogba how to stun inside, play inside as well. I do think that him as, his second year teaching a veteran like Emmanuel Ogba and a rookie like Jalen Phillips. That's just shows his leadership ability that we didn't necessarily see his rookie season. So I do think that's a big plus for Raekwon Davis. Emory, I mean, look, this is a new offense, right? And we're going back to Tua Tagovailoa back again, just because of his name and how big of a hot topic he's been this season. Now, this new offense is going to be based on his strengths, accuracy, timing, anticipation. But Tua did struggle last year in the intermediate passing game. Now, this system that Mike McDaniel brings over from Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, a little bit of Sean McVay influence as well, has a lot of intermediate passes as well. How can Tua basically improve in the intermediate passing game? Is it just weapons? Is it just the scheme that will help him out? What do you know that Tua can improve on the intermediate passing game?
It's just the reps. He needs the reps, and now he's fully healthy. I feel like more so than he was his rookie year or last year. I feel like the hip is not an issue now, so now that can marry up his footwork, his timing, all of that matters in quarterback play. So we should see the best of Tua this season.
Now, if you could choose one player from the 2020 or 2021 draft class to become a top 5 player in the NFL this season for the Miami Dolphins, who would it be?
Probably be Jalen Phillips because of his ability to do well on both ends of defense. I feel like we should see him now play more and get double-digit sacks and just be a force like we saw him in college at the University of Miami. But I feel like that's the guy that's going to break out this year in a big way.
I do agree in that sense. He had 8.5 sacks last year, and I spoke to his defensive line coach, Eddie McGilver, who also does work with the Los Angeles Rams defensive line group. The only advice that he gave Jalen Phillips heading into this season was to get faster. Get faster along the edges, be more speedy, get inside, use his arms better, I guess, and learn a little bit more technique to gain that, upper punch and that strength when he's going up against bigger offensive linemen. And that may be the key because he was inches away from having maybe a 10, 11, and 12 sack season as a rookie last year. Emory, before we let you go, what's in store for you this offseason?
Preparing for the football season. You got to prepare for these college games that I'm broadcasting, these high school games that I'm broadcasting, for the NFL season that I'm covering, college football as well. So it's about preparation, getting things ready for the fall because it's a long season for me, but it's still a lot that's filled with TV shows coming on Next Level Sports. We have college football shows. NFL show still up in the air. Still, that's under wraps of where that show, my football game plan, NFL All 32 show, will be placed. So we'll see what that see what that entails as we move forward. But just a lot of preparation for the upcoming season because I cover all bases of football. It's all about preparing, for both college and pro.
I know certainly maybe you might cover the XFL once it comes out too.
Oh,
You do
absolutely. We cover the USFL as well
yeah,
too. So
you cover the USFL as well on CBS Sports. You do CFB, you do FBS and FCS. But what game are you looking forward to the most of the college football season this year?
probably the first one. That's when I know it's real because I haven't even looked at the schedule. So the first game I know it's football. It's fall football season.
Yeah, Emery, before we let you go, where can our followers and listeners find you at?
Follow me on Twitter at FBall Game Plan. YouTube is Football Game Plan, and Instagram is all one word, Football Game Plan. Again, keep it locked to Next Level Sports, channel 623 on DirecTV, Fios 597, Fubo TV, and others for the USFL show every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. In the fall, we have small college football kickoff, the HBCU college football kickoff, FCS kickoff, all of those TV shows on Next Level Sports. You can also see me on CBS Sports HQ all the time, all over there, talking NFL and college football. So that's where you can follow me and follow along and keep the conversation going.
Emory, thank you so much for coming on, and we hope to have you on during or maybe potentially after the NFL and college football seasons to deep dive a little bit more into the 2023 class, which is coming in soon.
Thank you again.
Of course. Thank you guys, and as always, fins up, everybody.